Yay! Wait, let's make sure Twitch doesn't decide to like run ads, and then I show up in my own stream. That'd be annoying. All right, so to provide some background on this video for when we eventually put this on YouTube's. So this is a game that me and my good friend Techie here played, and he's learning. How long have you been playing now? It's been like, what, 3 months?
I think 3 months is right.
So he's learning. I've been doing teaching games with him on and off. I think this is like, what, our fourth or fifth? Fourth, maybe?
This is our second game that we've played to completion.
Oh, yeah. So, anyway, we're going to go over it because there's a bunch of things that happened in the game where I did stuff specifically so I could talk about it afterwards.
Yeah.
And also, just because there's a lot of different places in this where I made some mistakes and he made some mistakes. I'm pretty confident at one point Techie could have won, but gave it up in the end.
Yep, I'm sure of it.
And so we're going to go through this and just kind of talk about stuff. Alright, so nothing to see here in the first couple of moves. This is all pretty normal. Okay, so, and just to clarify, like, Techie's playing black, and I'm playing white. So anyway, so the first questionable thing is this guy. And it's not wrong, it's just like a tactics thing. A lot of times when you play on the 3-4 point, which is, the point next to the star point, usually this ends up getting complemented by some kind of Shamari, which is your, I can't remember exactly what it stands for, but it's basically, let's see, you would basically make this kind of shape.
Okay.
And there's a high one and there's a low one. There's an open Shamari. There's even this like big extension, which isn't very common.
It doesn't seem like it'd be as useful as the others.
But this one right here is the really traditional one. And basically what this does is it makes your corner impossible to break. Like this completely secures the corner from any kind of invasions, and it says like, this is my territory now. And that's it. Like it's incredibly strong. Now it is a bit slow, which is why, like you played here is totally fine. Like you can play this and ignore it, but it's just one of the things to know. Like most of the time when people, kind of like going back to the concept of why people play certain moves, typically when you play 3-4, it's because you want to play a little bit lower and get something in the corner. So the Shamari is really natural. It's just not quite as fast, so to speak. So like, had you played this, I probably would have, played something similar on this side. Or if I wanted to play fast, I would have done this, which is, but that's just something to know. Like playing like this approaching move from this side was really good because you always want to approach from like the side where you have a natural extension. So yeah, so that works. So anyway, and then we start doing the Joseki, and then Techie does something that's not Joseki at all. So this was very bad. And of course I did something crazy to try and so we could talk about it later. But let's talk about why this is not this is not Joseki real quick. So if we go back to the original move, like when you approach down here at this point where you're doing the low approach, typically what this stone says is that you want to make territory over here. If you approach on the third line, it typically means that you want to reduce the corner and you want to take some territory. And if you like, I always think about how like what the stones are trying to say whenever they play a move, just because it kind of helps me like organize them strategically. And I think we talked about this before, like where fourth line says that stone wants influence, third line says you want territory.
Yeah.
So like the standard Joseki for this, if we just walk through it, probably the most common one is this. Because what this does is this gives white territory over here, it gives black territory over here, And then later on, there's a point later in the game when it becomes bigger. Whoever plays at, let me get a different shape. Whoever plays at the circle point later ends up making that move later on ends up being worth quite a lot. But with this particular Joseki, like, it's everybody gets to play in sequence, and then it's considered finished. Later on, that circle point becomes like worth like 10 points or something like that. I can't remember the exact value, but early on, what this does is it basically says like, okay, white, you're not going to get such a huge corner. Black's going to live on top, and white's going to live over on the side, and we'll figure out who gets the bulk of the corner later, which is really common. There's a whole bunch of other Joseki choices that you can do related to this. The reason why this one was such a bad move is just because, like, there's... What it does is it doesn't actually give you any of that territorial space we were looking at before. And it also just kind of, like, invites white to jump in there. And this is a good example of why, like, I'm not the greatest teacher in the world, because I saw it and I was like, I know that's a mistake. I don't necessarily know what the best way is to punish it, but we'll just go for something and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So what I ended up doing was playing this because the intent of this move was for me to separate your two stones. And worst case scenario, I knew that I had all of this space along the side here in which to crawl. And if I did that, then I basically made the point of this stone, you know, the original stone that you played, over here, finding different things to click on, making the X stone, like, kind of dead because it no longer served its purpose, which is why I played that.
Yeah.
So, alright, and then you played down here, so this... So this is going to come up quite a bit throughout the game. So, like, in Japanese Go terms, like, this is called Tanuki. Are you familiar with that one?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so there's kind of like three different phases of deciding, like, when you should Tanuki or not. So one is what it basically is it's like, is it incredibly urgent? Like, if I don't respond to this stone, is something going to die? Or am I going to lose a lot of points? And then, you know, is there some big move on the board somewhere? So, like, this move is Tanuki, but there's, like, so many bigger moves that you could have played here, so I was like, oh, Kevin, please. Like, because, like, you could play here, for instance, and make, like, a high Chinese or a low Chinese formation on the right side and get, like, a huge chunk of territory over here on the right. Or you could come over here and, like, approach this corner. You're like, the top didn't go so well. Yeah, that's all right. We'll go to the bottom left now. Or, you know, like, had you wanted, you could have, you know, played locally up here and at least said, oh, well, okay, maybe something wacky's going over here. Let me at least get inside of the corner and do something with what's going on now. You know, or at least try to finish out the Joseki that I screwed up. So there were bigger points on the board, and you played this one, which, like, doesn't even really do a whole lot for you. So, like, can you talk about, like, what you were thinking about when you played this, or?
Mentally, I was just like, okay, things didn't quite go as I wanted them to in that corner, because I was hoping that you wouldn't separate me there. And so when you did that, I was like, okay, I should try and consolidate myself somewhere else and get myself some territory. And for some reason, I did the Tanuki, and it didn't exactly pay off. But you know, it's it was just kind of an idea I had when I was like, okay, my original plan in the corner wasn't gonna pan out the way I wanted.
Yeah, well, it was a good thought. And I mean, some of this stuff will be easier to kind of see, like, the more that you play, like, where the opportunities are to play bigger moves. But yeah, it's if you wanted to get territory, what you could have done is played, you know, you could have done the Shamari thing that we talked about, because now at this point, like with the Shamari in the corner, there's actually some like loose coordination between these 3 stones.
Yeah.
Or you could have played, let's see, like probably one of the bigger points on the board would be to play Silly Tools. There we go. Yeah, it would have been to play something like this or like this, because at this point now you've got all of this space over here on the right, and with this low stone over here on the right, it becomes a lot more difficult for white to come in here and play because he's already loosely being pincered. You know, by this. So.
Yep.
Anyway, so yeah, so that's one thing. So yeah, when you played down there, I was like, oh well, I don't want him to make a Shamari, or get anything big on the right side. He screwed up by playing down here, so I'm gonna go and do that. And so after this, then you respond over here. And the reason why I did this instead of this is because I figured, well, if he Tanuki'd, like, I was expecting him to move immediately, so I'll just wait until he does that, and then we can go back to the original point.
Yeah.
Because the other option would have been, instead of me doing that, I could have played this, and now, like, the connection between these
Those
two
is-
stones are completely severed.
Yeah.
But opted to do this instead, and then we get back to the fight.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, as soon as you do this, I have 2 choices. I can either go left or right. Like going down is small and pretty worthless. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I decided to go left, which is the wrong move. Part of why I did this was just to see like if you were gonna keep going and if you could end up killing the group or not, which ended up not happening.
Yeah.
So had I
Good
gone
close.
this way, you know, like this is kind of the thing that I was afraid of happening and having to deal with something like this, because in this situation it's still really easy for you to kill me off, just because there's so many weak things going on. So I wanted to avoid this shape, so I decided just to go left and see what would happen. So we can go over this real quick. So yeah, so you played here, which is good, because it kind of stopped me from crawling the rest of the way. So like this is another example of a really bad move by me that you could have punished.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get ahead. I'm hoping that you're going to play something slow so that I can keep pushing out into this
That area.
direction, and that, you know, hopefully, you know, you'll be trailing behind is the idea. But I'm trying to get out in front. Like that book, the Takemiya book, talks about
Yeah.
that quite a bit. I think there's a whole chapter in it about
Yeah,
like how
there is.
important it is to get ahead. So that's basically all I was trying to do. So when you played the slow move, I was like, oh, okay, sweet. Like this is gonna let me, now I can prevent him from crawling whatsoever. And you know, my whole goal at this point is to jump out here. Because as soon as I get out here, now I'm attacking in the corner both ways, and I'm gonna be able to make some life. And then meanwhile, like all of your potential territory that would have been back here is all like
Gone.
completely gone. So my goal is starting to happen. So you push through, which is good. And then this here is a big mistake. And there's ways to salvage this, and this comes up because we both do this a couple of times here. But basically, what you're looking to do is you want to cut this, right? You want to you want to cut. So what this stone does is it threatens to cut.
And you can just kind of block it off.
Yeah, 95% of the time you don't want to threaten to cut, because usually what I want to do is I want a reason to be able to play that anyway. Oh, sorry, just used the wrong thing there. When I have a weakness like this, where I have these 2 cutting points, what I really want is an excuse to fill it in.
Yeah.
So like in this position, you know, if I was playing black, like this is the easiest thing to do, because it forces the cuts at both points. And now at this point, like white's, you know, white's in here, but everything is living pretty small.
Yeah.
You know, if you play this way, now like the position is much more squeezed, and you can jump out and play something like this, and I still have to end up responding to everything. So now I'm living down here, but it's gonna be incredibly small with almost no territory.
Yeah.
And then you can just jump out from here to kind of make your other group happy.
Yeah. No, I think I flustered myself a bit at the start, whereas things didn't go as I planned, so I started trying to make something happen. And I think I eventually learned I can't just threaten to do things to try to make you respond wrong.
Yeah, you kind of gotta either do it or don't. So this is good. Like capping me in is really good, and then we start to do this. Now the reason why I shifted over here, and I do this a couple times throughout, but we talked before about kind of how you have to attack, like try to do two things at once. So when I play this, kind of what I was hoping you would do is we would be able to have some sort of sequence like this, where like you take the right side and I take the left, and everybody's happy, and so we can
yeah, but I never play that
all
way.
go home with our territory. So that didn't happen. So you did the really aggressive thing.
That was for normal.
Yeah. And so then we do this. Alright, so this is a really good idea, and then the trouble with this is that as soon as I responded to it, you just kind of left it alone. So you cut, but then as soon as I put you in Atari, you kind of left it. And this move is kind of like crawling out here isn't super urgent because even if I were to say cap you right here, now you have this choice, and you still get like the whole corner pretty much.
Yeah.
Even if I crawl in. So one of the proverbs that they talk about is like when you're gonna sacrifice a stone, extend once and then sacrifice. And the whole reason for that is because as soon as you extend here, it becomes much more urgent for me to deal with it immediately. In which case you can kind of start trying to create some more pressure around it. I think you end up doing that a little bit later.
Yeah, I kind of figured it out.
Here we go. Alright. Yep, so here we are. You decide to Tanuki here. So this position at the top is still kind of interesting. But it's one of those things now where, like, if you look at the board and just kind of how it turned out, there's... Because if you think about it, like, if we just separate out the top portion of the board to think about everything that happened up there, if we go back a bunch of moves, so the top side of the board originally belonged to black here.
Yeah.
And
now it doesn't.
it was totally black's thing, and then throughout the course of this, white just kind of came in here and made a little happy house for himself. Yeah. So one of the things, this is probably like the big mistake point here, because here, like, white's position here is still really weak. Like, you have this giant group here that's going to be impossible to kill, and you have this stone over here. So when you get into scenarios like this, like, you can either do one of two things. Like, you can either go like, is there a way for me to kill this group? Or is there a way for me to go exactly where that group wants to go and kind of prevent it from accomplishing what it really wants to accomplish the most? And so if you think about it, like, at this position, the most critical place on the board is probably here at the square point, at these two little things at, N17 and 16, because whoever plays there first is going to have a much bigger position on the top side of the board. Even like if so, like, just saying that if you had played here, for example, let's go back, let me make sure I'm using the right tool, and I come over here to try and reduce, like, even if we had played like this, just to show something really basic, like, we're still, white over here is still in trouble because it hasn't figured out how to live yet.
Yeah.
And so with white figuring out how to do that, you can, pressure it and create more space on the top and do a number of other things instead of, the end result, which was white getting
Yeah.
pretty much all of it. So it's just something to think about. But in kind of these situations where neither group looks settled, a lot of times where white wants to play is also where black wants to play, and vice versa.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. Do you got any questions or comments or?
No, I'm very much aware that at the start of this game I just wasn't taking time to think of each of my moves, so it was totally reactionary to the initial mistake, and that tends to be how it is with me, where if I get flustered once, it screws me up for a little while.
Alright, so this is actually cool. Well, let's go down to the next thing. So after the top debacle happens, we can go down to the bottom left.
And I just nuke you again.
Yep, no, that's fine. So I actually wasn't sure what to play against this because it's kind of uncommon and I've forgotten all my Joseki. Hey, what's up, Crimson Darkness? Crimson Darkness and I played a bunch of Brawlhalla earlier.
Nice.
Alright, so this one I wasn't sure what to do, so I decided to do this, which a lot of people don't do anymore, but we don't really want to talk about that because I don't really know how to explain it.
Okay, I'll just
So-
look it up later.
Instead, let's talk about this. So this is a 5-space extension on the left, which ends up getting messed with later.
Yeah.
And these typically, like, you'll see 5, sometimes even 6 space extensions if you want influence. And usually you'll see them where they go like a stone higher. So that they can influence out a little bit more. And the reason for that is because they have this weakness right in the middle here.
Yeah.
It gives white like a very comfortable way to invade later. And it's worth actually talking about 4-space and 5-space extensions really quick. Let's just do this. We'll show this off. And usually these things happen on the side. So there's 4-space extensions, and then there's, you've got your 5-space ones, and then they're also different based on if they happen on the 4th line or if they're happening
On third line, stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah. So, excuse me. So in these scenarios, let's see. We're gonna just alternate now. So a 4-space extension is usually really tight. It's very difficult to reduce or invade. Even in, let's say, these scenarios where black's got supporting stones. If black comes in here and tries to reduce it as much as possible, to where white's not going to have a lot of space to live, it's still incredibly difficult to keep white boxed in and actually get some kind of to actually kill off the 4-space extension, just because of how strong the connection is between the groups. Like, even if you let's say you have all this support and everything else, and you try to come in here directly, it's really easy for white to just kind of bear down on you. And if you try to do it that aggressively, yeah, you might be able to live, but you're going to live incredibly small.
You only have a few territories out of it.
Yep. Whereas, like, if we look at, trying to come in here to a 5-space extension, now it becomes a lot easier for black to just completely cut off those stones and, do something with all of it. So,
Yeah.
I'm not the best at illustrating how weak they are because in my heart of hearts, I'm not the most aggressive player in the world.
I can tell.
But it's one of those things where whenever you have, if you want to secure territory, it's always safer to go with 4-space extensions over 5, and it's just kind of something to be aware of.
Yep.
Yeah. So this one I play high because I didn't want to play something really slow just for the corner, and just going for some more influence. Because at this point, what I'm worried about now is like this Mii that's kind of getting built over here, where you've got all this happening.
Yep.
Which is starting to get a little scary. So I play this largely because the main reason that I play this is because I'm afraid of you coming into the corner. Because if you play this move at this point, then that's gonna make my corner much, much smaller. So I wanted to play this to kind of secure up some points. This was a really good move because you found the biggest point on the board.
Yep.
And so I hop in to try and reduce it. You ignore it. And like this was a good idea to kind of keep white low, to try and like prevent him from coming out. Although usually like when you're gonna play capping plays like this, there's a lot of different ways to do it. So like again, usually black's best move is white's best move.
Yeah.
So like these two places are typically where white's gonna want to jump out, because let's see, if we show like if white jumps out here, for example, the move that you played, like then at that point black can just push through, and then white really doesn't have that much of an advantage. So usually in this position where you've got a group of stones like this, white's gonna want to jump out farther away from the black stones. You know, so later he's got more options for where to go next, and this, you know, the connection becomes easier. So this one was a little soft, but I was like, he played it. I'll jump out anyway. It's kind of building your Miai a bit more, because now this is even more scary.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I need to get in here somehow. So, you know, and that happens in a minute. So, and then this was also really good, because that's the next move that I wanted to play. Because it's,
Good.
you know, where I want to jump out from my white stones. So you play this, and then I do this because I'm crazy.
Yeah.
And also because I wanted to see what you would do, and so we could talk again about threatening to cut but not cutting.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that. So there's this old rule that somebody told me once about Miais. And maybe we won't count this stone down here because that's a little far away from everybody. But even if we just count these here, the idea is to kind of draw an imaginary line between where like the end of the Miai is. So here that would kind of be like this, I guess, is kind of this imaginary line of where that influence ends, connecting from the stone on the left to the stone in the middle. So basically in this formation here with all these black stones, if I was playing smartly, I would just play like this or something, or this even.
To try and cut it off.
Well, not necessarily to cut it off, but
Or
just
minimize
because
it.
I don't want it to be huge.
Yeah.
I don't want to just like end up giving you all of that space, right? So let's see if I can actually. So like I could have just done this, right? And you'd probably play this, and then I could still play right here, and you know, even if you're going to try to block off a lot of that, I can still get in here and start reducing it dramatically, right?
Yeah.
Which is part of why they always recommend not to try to make life in the middle. But instead I do this. Largely to see what you would do, because there's a couple things that you could do. You could either, you know, in my mind I'm thinking like, oh, okay, he could play this stone, he could play something like this, which would be pretty smart. You know, he could completely ignore it because it's kind of a useless move, and you know, do something somewhere else, like, you know, I don't know, play down here. Who fucking knows? So you do ignore it and you play this, which I guess is good. I mean, it kind of helps you secure the corner. But then I was like, all right, I'm here. I may as well do what I threatened to do. We'll see what happens next. And then that leads to like most of the chaos for the rest of the game.
Yes. The perpetual fight.
Yep. So we'll talk about what's good and what wasn't good. So this works. Like, this is really severe because it touches my stone. So like you could have played this as well, and it would kind of have served almost the same purpose. Whoop, I'm not on alternate right now, am I? Could have played this as well, and we could have done this whole thing. But you know, that works. We'll see what happens. So I start crawling. So at this point here, this is really good that you found this, because originally I was expecting you to do this so that we could kind of like play through this sequence, and then
I was totally
look,
about to do that.
you're gonna die. So the fact that you noticed that, it was really good. I assume that you read that out.
Yeah. This was kind of when I started taking time to read the game.
Hey. Well, this is also kind of the time where like I feel like your localized reading skills are really good. So, and that shows a couple of times. So we'll try to go into that. So at this point though, when you do this, my only objective is to crawl out, right? Like the only thing I want to do is make sure that this group lives, and we'll see if I can get some advantage out of it. Um, so yeah, so you do this. I want to make sure that these. My whole goal at this point is like, as you're doing this, my hope is that you're gonna have 2 weak groups on either side, and then eventually I'll be able to exploit one of them. That didn't really end up happening.
No.
Which is fine. Alright, so here we go. So here's... And, like, this is an example. Like, if both of these groups were really strong, like, a net here would work, right? Where you could just trap me in. But the problem is, because of these two Atari spaces, like, this would actually let me break free.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you'd be able to cover all of the different things.
Yep.
And so, yeah, there basically comes a point with this, which is probably like around here or so, where you're like, where you have to look at it and kind of go like, man, this is a real pain in the ass.
Yeah.
How do I convert this into better territory for me, in a way where I'm actually coming out of this on top? And this is one of the things that I kind of wanted to go over, is like, if you look at this, like, from here on, I'm basically trying not to give you for 12 points. That's what this whole fight is about. This whole fight is about 12 points.
Yeah.
The 12 points that you would get if I let this group die right now. Which in the grand scheme of things is like, but throughout this whole thing, you basically have the ability to push and prod this entire group around and do pretty much whatever you want to it. And for the most part, you do a pretty good job. Up until this point, this was...
Mistake.
Yeah, there were some other ways you could have dealt with that one. But yeah, so up until this point, like, you can basically decide, like, how do I want to make territory on this side, and how do I want to make territory on this side, because this group here isn't going to be happy and satisfied until it is safe. And at this point, like, what originally was 12 points is quickly turned into, like, 30, which is game-breaking. So,
Yeah.
But in these scenarios, like, if it seems like, if we get here and you realize, like, oh, this is, like, going to be really impossible to kill, you can shift thinking from, like, I need to kill it, I need to kill it, I need to kill it, to, like, how long can I bully this thing around until I get all the points that I possibly can out of this. So, like, an example of this would be, like, you can push here and then here, and I'm going to keep trying to jump out and do the rest of it. And so long as you can keep me from, from turning around and killing anything, I'm going to carry on in this endless pursuit to try to get to making life. And in the meantime, you can end up making even more territory than you would otherwise.
Yeah.
That's not the best example, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, I understand.
All right, so we do this. Yeah, so this is kind of, like, I see what the intent was behind this. Yeah, I feel like here, like, if you had played this, there would have been more Aji for you to work with, like, going in this sequence.
Yeah.
Because now you can start playing stuff like this up here, and it becomes a little bit more interesting than just...
Peace dies and nothing
Yeah.
you can do.
You know, and you're helping to reduce that corner a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, so, like, this move, for example, is pretty slow. Like, I understand why you did it, probably because you're afraid of the cut right here.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough.
Yeah, that cut would have been disastrous for me if I'd let it go through.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Like, it was one of those things where, like, I wasn't even looking at it.
Oh.
So, like, let's say, I don't know, let's say you had played something like, I'm trying to think of what other big points there are on the board. I don't know, let's say you had done this, and I cut over here. So, like, even at this point, like, had you cut, this is probably, like, the worst that you might have been able to do. you know, which at this point, like, black still comes out ahead.
Yeah.
Just because, like, there's so much there's so much that white would have to attack in order for this to work, that, you know, because by cutting here, I'm either going after this stone or these guys, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's a really difficult position to go up against a giant group like that. So yeah. So anyway, after you played that, I was like, oh cool, like I get a free move. And then this sequence happened. So here when I played this, like, usually when this is called a peep.
Okay.
Yeah, Go Sagan's here because he's like, oh, this will be fun, I can look at this. But he's right, like, the cut was small.
Yeah. See, I can't read that very well yet. I'm still...
Yeah, and that's part of, like, your reading's really good because you have a lot of patience, which is something that not everybody has. Like, I certainly don't have any patience when I play Go, which is part of why I've never gotten much better than like the skill cap I got to. That a lot of what you're lacking is just like experience and game knowledge, because there's just so much more like techniques and strategies to learn. So anyway, so this is called a peep. A peep is when when a stone approaches a one space jump like this. If we go, let's go all the way back. Let's go to a nice clear board. So yeah, so when there's a one space jump, this is like one of the strongest connections you can have with just two stones without them, you know, being physically connected or having a bamboo joint, right? There's no point in trying to cut bamboo joints.
Yeah.
But with all of the quote unquote like good shapes that exist in Go, usually when the other guy approaches, it's because he's trying to mess up your day and cut those two stones, right? Like, unanswered, the whole goal of most of the like shoulder hits and approaching and everything else is all designed to separate those stones. So when somebody peeps, and again, like, it's entirely up to you. Sometimes the peep is not important. If you have enough support around you, you can ignore it. But what they're threatening to do is they're threatening to cut you, because as soon as they push through, there's no real way for you to avoid being cut one way or the other. Like, some stone somewhere is going to be cut off from the original two. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
So if we go back to the game, and like again, like, this is more of like, there were better moves in this situation than this one. Like, if I was really just focused entirely on making life, I would have just jumped like here and be like, okay, now my bottom left looks fine. I'm connected up, everything's cool. So this was really kind of to test to see if you would respond to this or not, and then scold you afterwards. And we'll see what kind of craziness that leads to later if you connect it up. Now, in this position, like, the peep is not that critical because you have all this other support around here. So ignoring it's okay. But have you heard of the peep thing before?
No, I'm learning.
All right, good. So yeah, just keep that in mind.
Yep.
So anyway, I jump out here because I really want to live. And at this point, I kind of feel like my group's alive and it's now connected to the bottom left. Is kind of how I feel about all this. All right, and then you play this move, which is bad.
Oh, okay.
And we'll talk about why in a minute. But do you see what I'm saying about this white group now, about how I consider it to be all connected up?
Yeah, it's really good shapes there. So.
Yeah, because these guys are, is a very solid shape, which is, now connected to these guys. And then, you need to cut twice in order for this to get disconnected.
And you wouldn't let that happen.
Right, so I'm basically like, I feel confident that this group's alive now. I no longer have to worry about giving you 30 points. And then you play this. So, and this just has to do with, oh, thanks, Go Sagan. Dog's head shape +1 for style. Yeah, let's go nerd stuff. Anyhow.
Okay.
Anyway, so this is really slow for this portion of the game, because if you think about it, like saving the stone, because I imagine what you're worried about is me, at some point later,
Cutting it off.
going and doing this, and it's like, oh no, he took the stone, because any Atari on the second line dies, like that's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, who is this guy? Sorry, I gotta ban someone for linking hentai in the chat. Joy of playing
Being a
Go.
streamer. Yep.
All right, the joy of Go. Anyhow, so if I do take the stone, like this position right here is worth maybe like 4 points at most. And at this point in the game, like 90 moves in, we're still like heavily in mid game. Like there is still much bigger moves on the board that would result in many more points. So instead of playing one of those big moves, I push through with the peep just to see what will happen. Yeah, and then later I actually, now that I remember this position, later that ends up hurting you.
Yeah.
Alright, so then we have this weird exchange over here, which I'm not sure what either of us are doing. So here I feel like, so whenever you play a shoulder hit, this is a really aggressive move. It's considered an attack.
Hitting.
So
Yeah.
the shoulder hit is, whenever you're playing a diagonal instead of directly connecting. So it's considered very aggressive. At this point, like, I feel like the stone's completely screwed. Because, like, all the places where I want to go, like, I want to go over here, I want to go in here, like, it's just, like, I feel like this bottom right is completely borked at this point.
Which is really funny with how Endgame ends up.
Yeah, because endgame it went weird. So I decided to play over here, because I'm like, you know what, like, there's some weird Aji left over with this stone, and maybe if not that, I can jump out, or I can go shoulder hit, or, just use this as a way so that if this white stone starts crawling this way, I now have a buddy over here. So that's why I played that. Don't know if that was a good move or not, probably wasn't. Go Sagan in chat's mentioning, yeah, if you, like, when you shoulder hit a weak stone, it does make it stronger. Like, anytime you add... anytime that you touch another stone, it's going to become stronger. It's just through, like, follow-ups and the rest of it. We'll see what happens next. Alright, so yeah, so you play here. At this point, you've got another big, giant, possible territory Miai thing going that I hate in this big, giant wall.
Yeah.
So I decided to jump in because I want to start reducing. And then I decided to reduce some more. So this is kind of the same thing here. Like, you go for this instead of responding, which is, I mean, had you
I'm
just
trying to be a little bit less aggressive than I normally am.
could just play here and cap, like capping's always good.
Yeah.
So instead you do this, and I was like, okay, I'll take it. And I go for the big greedy move, which you punish immediately. Yeah. So over here I attach because I want to get a little bit stronger over on the right. And then too, like this sequence, because what I'm thinking about after this is like, ah, shit, where is this stone gonna go, right? And like, my nearest neighbor is way over there, and way over here, right? That guy, there's no way I'm getting to that dude. So I need to figure out another way to get to stones, to like get to a safe group if I want this guy to do his job of reducing. Or I could have just given him up and played a little bit more smartly and just done like this instead. At which
But it's
point,
a teaching game.
But it's a teaching game, right? Exactly. So I play this and I'm like, oh hey, look guys, there's a road to victory. I can make it maybe. All right, so and then you're like, no, no.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, fine. So I go back to the move that I should have played earlier. And I do this whole thing. Now, this move was kind of questionable. I'm not really sure why I did it. I don't think it's that good. I think the main thing that I was worried about was, like, if I was to play here, then there's just, like, all these cutting points, and I could end up, like, losing the whole thing, so I just wanted to play a little bit more solidly. So here I am now. I'm trying to, like, figure out how to make life. This was all really good, like, this move in particular. Because the move I think most people would play would be to play here, which is what I was hoping for, because then I would get this sequence.
Yeah,
and
then
then
you could get that chunk.
then I would be like super happy. But you played the other thing, which was really good. Yeah, because if you like compare, it's only one stone, but it's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yep. So I was like, oh, maybe I can connect. Maybe I can kill off this group. So this was the part where the game got scary for me because this group ends up not living.
Yep.
Largely because throughout this whole thing, I was like, okay, especially once I got this cut here, I was like, all right, so he's got this group in the top right corner, and he's got this group here on the right side. And right now, I feel like I'm a little bit stronger than he is over here. Thank you for the follow, whoever that was. Hey, the Belgeran. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's my brother.
Hey, Techie's brother. All right, so back to how Techie. This is a story of how Techie screwed up. So yeah, so all this is.
Let's bring up this part.
Yeah, this part I kind of screwed up. Let's see if we can find the exact moment. All right, so here I'm just like I'm trying to cut stuff. I'm trying to separate up the groups. I'm trying to see what I can connect to, because like at this point, at this stage in the game, like if you look at all these groups, like there's all these cutting points everywhere.
Yeah.
Like nothing is really settled, and like this is it's part of why like I really like the term Aji, because a lot of times like you really just have no core idea what's going on. Like there's just a whole lot of different ways for anything to happen at this point. So the way that you played ended up being really solid. So like here there were probably better moves. I feel like this is where I ended up losing the group, which wasn't so good. Yeah, actually, let me see. So this is actually where my big mistake was, because what I thought I saw wasn't actually there. And I didn't realize it until this happened, because finding this move was actually really important, because if you had played like, I don't know, over here, or if you had played here or whatever, then I was like, aha, I'm gonna be able to do something with this. Like I'm at least gonna be able to, you know, like bully this group around some. And then it never really happened. That, and I kept seeing this like mysterious snapback that wasn't actually there.
Yeah.
Because I'm old and I'm lazy. But I kept seeing this, and I was like, I can snap back, and I was like, no, that's actually, he gets two things, and that's terrible. So anyway, so yeah, so I screwed up that part. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, so this is another example of where you kind of leave something unfinished.
Yeah, I do that.
So when you play this is a really good endgame move, and it's really good at just kind of reducing somebody's territory on the one line. Because the idea is that whoever plays here first, it's worth about 3 points, I think. So let's say, you know, you play somewhere else. Aha! I get this point. Like, you know, it's basically the difference of 2 or 3 points.
Yeah.
But it's very important for endgame. But the thing is that you have to finish it. And you had this move, like, kind of in Sente, so, like, you could have, but then you just left it, and then it ended up hurting later. So, like, kind of, and this is part of why it's important to play 19 by 19 games.
Okay.
And to actually play all the way to the end. Like, you should not be resigning any games until you're...
Don't resign games.
Just play, get to endgame, and learn how endgame works.
I think I've only ever resigned one game.
It's like, it's how my it's like my chess strategy is just to get people to endgame, and then I'll win with like just a king and a pawn. Works every time.
See, we still need to play.
That's never gonna happen. I hate chess. All right.
Okay.
I'll get cremated. So
Yeah,
bad
you
at it.
will.
All right. So anyway, let's talk about this. Let's see. So you play over here, and at this point, I'm like, all right, I need to figure out what to do in the corner here. I only have these 2 stones. He just left this alone, which sucks. He played here, which means that this is probably going to get reduced a lot, maybe even out here even, which sucks. So I can't give him this whole corner. I can't do it. So I need to make one of these stones do something. So the only real point of Aji, like, that was left was here. So I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to make something out of this. So I decided to go for the corner. And then you do this again. You, like, leave, like, right in the middle of a very urgent scenario, because there's all this stuff down here that is still happening. Like, there's so much nonsense. There's so many ways for you to reduce this.
You know what happened there? That was one of those times where we had like a day break between it, I think.
Oh God.
And so my brain just didn't process one thing to the next.
Oh, tacky, why? But I mean, look, you know. And all right, looks like you come down and do that later, and you do the same thing. You don't finish the thing up there,
Yeah.
which comes back for you later, because I end up nickeling and diming you to get the victory here.
Yeah.
We'll point out at the end. So anyway, so you do this, which is fine. I did this. Why I'm not sure. Wait a minute. What ends up happening here? Okay, so you go for this one. I play here, and you play this one. Okay. Yep, because I read that one out. Now you play that thing in the corner. Now I play this, and then you ignore it. It's like, oh, techie, why? Like, why would you play this? Like, this is worth like half a point. This is a half a point play. Like, what do you?
I honestly am not sure why.
What are you doing? Like, what do you? Just play this. Just play this. Get all the points. That one's worth 3 points. So yeah, don't do stuff like this. Like, like this is an experience thing too. Because I used to look at that and be like, oh man, that's like 2 points. You know, and it's like, well, it ends up becoming a ko immediately afterwards. So it's not really worth 2 points. It's really worth like half a point. Because I have to fill that in later.
Yeah.
Or somebody does, right? So, is this correspondence? Yes, Gosagan, this was correspondence. I think it was like over a week or something.
This is like 2 weeks because we got busy or something like that.
We tend to play in spurts, but anyhow. Yeah, so here we are. I'm like, okay, my group down here in the corner is going to live. That's really cool. You know, despite all this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then this one. Yeah, where I'm just like, and this ends up costing you later.
Yeah.
Because here, like, my whole goal is just to, like, keep getting out, right? So this was good to, like, to keep these stones valuable. And then you just abandon it again. Like, you're just like, oh, I'll just let them do that, I guess. You know, instead, like, because these 2 stones over here, like, are still in, like, Shit Creek, right? Like,
yeah.
they're in this position. They still got, like, I don't even think those things can live. You play this instead, which I think maybe ends up killing later. Not sure. Yeah, this is where I screwed. This is where I screwed up, because this was not the correct move. The correct move was like here, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Even that one, I don't think.
It's hard to. I'm not sure.
I don't think there was actually like a move that would make this group live. As soon as you found that one, maybe this one. No, because then you can still play here. You know, and that just doesn't work. So yeah. So anyway, so that kills my group, which was quite good. Yeah, because had I played this, then I think it would have been fine. Yeah, that's 2 eyes. Oh well. You got there first. Alright, so as soon as that happens, I'm like, oh shit, son. Wait. Yeah, so you play this, and I play this. I'm like, ah, crap, let's go kill this other thing. And then you find this move, and I'm like, ah, dang it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. So you made life over there. But then I came back here, and I'm like, aha, because now this group down in the bottom right's gonna die, and maybe I won't lose this game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so we do this, and then this whole thing, like, the reason that I did this sequence was just to secure the fact that I could kill this later. Because I'm like, if I get a couple more stones in here, I'm gonna be good.
Yeah, I shouldn't have let that corner go away.
Yep.
I had a few opportunities to save it.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so then you ignore, you do this, which I guess is kind of, like, I don't know why I played this.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, whatever. And you find this move, which is really good. That was the biggest move on the board. So, kudos.
Yay.
Alright. And then all this happens.
Yep.
Alright, this was also really good, because that's where I wanted to play next. So, like, let's say that you had played, I don't know, anything else, like this, and then I'd gotten to this one. Basically what that lets me do is, like, if you play here, I get to cut. And if you play here, I'm still safe.
Yep.
you know. So like it was basically going to be like my masterful reduction move, but you found it. And that made me really sad. So yeah, none. All right, so yep, you play over here. This is all good. All right, and then this happens. So I'm not sure what the goal of this was.
Yeah, I'm not either.
So what this does, it's interesting though, because what this does is it makes this group here. Whoa, 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 whoa. That was not correct. What it does is it gives this group 3 liberties, which means that you can bully it now. Like even if I just do this, that's not the way to bully it though, because I'm just gonna capture it. But what you could do is, you know, when I play this, is you go and you get your extra points, right? Because now I can't play this because that would let you capture me, and even if I play this, like you basically get like all these free points now, right?
Yep.
And you have succeeded in bullying the crap out of it.
Yep.
That instead you play this other wacky thing. Which is okay. And I mean, this is like normal, like, again, like once something gets a target on the second line, it's always gonna die. So it's just something to think about, like, instead of trying to kill it, like, just bully it.
Play somewhere else. Or bully. Yeah. See, that's my mentality there.
Yeah.
Hop around a lot.
And then to go Sagan's point, like maintaining Sente, like maintaining initiative, or like control is also really important. So anyway, so here you did this, which is fine, I guess. Like I'm sure you were expecting me to fill in. I decided not to because I was like, if Teki co-fights me, he's going to lose.
Yep.
Just because like I was kind of banking on that. I knew I was behind, so I really wanted to get this move because it was worth a lot.
Yep.
So you respond to it, we play it out. And then here I basically play this because I really don't want you to push through because I feel like it's going to cost me at least 4 or 5 points if I let you push. So I play this, and then you carry on doing that, which is good. And then from here on, everything is basically like we have this epic co-fight, and then it's 1 point here, 1 point there kind of thing. Yeah. So this is a really good example of stuff. Like why I played this. Right. So this is the point in the game where like every move becomes kind of important. So like this whole sequence where I force you out into this was all designed so that I could get the most like while keeping the initiative here. And what it really does is it just makes sure I connect up 2 weak groups, while also making sure that I keep like these 2 points that you could have taken otherwise.
I know. Retrospect got me there.
And then so this one I felt was a big move because if you had played here first or here first, you would have gotten like 2 extra points. But by playing this, it basically ensures that neither of these become points.
Yep.
And then this over here forced me to move, which actually you could have killed me later, but we didn't see that till later. Yeah, so this is fine. We connect up. This is a dead move, so thanks. This type of thing, like, and you see this a lot in Kyu games, or is like, or Caillou or Q or however people say it, where like people just do stuff. So this actually this actually results in no points for either side. It's just kind of a waste of time. Anyway, so yeah, so that's good. That's fine. Although now I'm starting to make points where I wasn't before. And then you let me get extra stones. That's fine. That's normal. I threaten to cut. That's fun. Fill in here. You know exactly what I'm up to, which is good. Because the whole point of this move is what I wanted to do was cut at these places and eventually get something. So the fact that you kind of noticed what I was aiming for was quite good. Because had you played somewhere else, just for the people in our studio audience, basically then, like, this whole kind of sequence could have played out. Where eventually I get something and then, oh man, that just got much, much smaller. So that was really good. All right. I want to get to the co-fight. That's the fun part. Yep. So, whoop. My bad.
Oh.
Yep. So this is it. So basically, like, if I win this co, I think I make like 8 points out of this, or 4 points. It's pretty big difference. And part of why it's good to like get used to co-fighting is because later on, like, there's quite a bit of things that are decided by co-fights. And there's also quite a bit of strategy and like how you secure the life for your groups based on whether or not you're playing for strong co-fighting later, or if you don't care so much. So yeah, so all this is pretty good. So this is the thing that I filled in and we missed
That
from
could have
earlier.
been big, yeah.
Yeah, because had you played this, I basically can't fill this in because it's
Dead, yeah.
yeah. So thank God I saw that. Yep. And so at this point in the game, like, the amount of moves that are still valid, are like that are still going to result in points, are very, very, very small. There's only a few things left on the board, and kind of identifying which ones are important, like which ones are actual points and which ones are not, is really helpful for figuring out, like, all the little last minute end game things. So like one of them is like this one right here. You know, whoever gets there is gonna get a point, because if white fills in here and then plays here, you have to connect over here, which takes up a point. I think there's a ko here, which is half a point. There's a ko here, which is half a point. And then shoot, there was something else. So I think that might be it.
Yep.
Hey Tybo, thanks for being a fan. Alright. So anyway, so you play this, which actually what this does is it removes a point. So, and this is kind of important because this happens a lot in lower levels when you're still learning and you're not sure about whether or not a group's gonna live or die.
Yeah.
So this is I like to call it like a safety move, or I don't know. I've already got a moat around my house, but I'm gonna put alligators in it too, just to be safe.
Yeah.
Because basically the only thing that this does is like gives you peace of mind. Like, if we think about what that's meant to do, it's meant to stop me from jumping in there and trying to kill everything, right?
Yeah.
So like even if I jump in here and we play through this whole sequence of nonsense and aggression, like, even at this point, like, you're still coming out on top.
Yeah.
You know, even with like the most obvious of attacks, it's incredibly difficult for white to do pretty much anything in here, no matter how hard I try, because I can't. Even if I do make eye space, you've still got 2 eyes already.
Yeah.
You know, if I threaten this group over here, you've already got an escape over here. It's like, oh, white's made eye space, and in the process, he made 1 eye, and now I could just kill him.
Yeah.
So this move just takes away a point. So it's something to be aware of. Anytime you play inside of your own territory where you don't need to, you actually give me a point.
Yeah.
Which is important because it came down to 4 points.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about what happens next. So this is actually, you spend a lot of time getting this 1 point here, which is okay, I guess, because you got a point.
Yep.
But then I decide I want to start messing around with this because I'm not sure if this double ko means life for me or not. I'm not really good at how double ko's work, but I was like, hey, double ko seki, that's a thing. Until later I remembered that it also means that you have to do the thing where the other guy would die if he plays it. So anyway, so we start co-fighting. And meanwhile, what I'm trying to do with this move is a really good example. What this move does is it forces you to play a move that otherwise was not necessary. And it happened as a result of me starting the co-fight. So for me, like, that's a victory in my book. Like, I just got another half a point,
Yeah.
which is sweet. And then we start co-fighting. We keep co-fighting. And then up here, I'm like, okay, I'll take a point. That's worth half a point. You do the same.
Yep.
This is another dead. Well, I guess it's not dead because I do have to fill in. That's fine.
Yeah.
Then you do this, which again takes away a point from you. And then this move takes a ko. This move again takes away a point.
Yeah.
And then let's see, this fills. Yeah. So this one right here was kind of dummy, but kind of not. That one takes away a point. Where are we at? And then we pass, and then I win by 4 points. So had you not played those, well,
Any of those 4.
if you hadn't played any of those 4, I would have only won by half a point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the end, it's what's interesting to see is like kind of. I guess we should do where's the scoring tool?
It's at the very bottom, I think, normally. No, it's not. Oh, sidebar.
Sidebar.
Yeah, on the right. Isn't there a... Nope, there isn't a scoring. I think you have to go back and, like, leave the analysis and just
Original
go to the...
game. Okay,
Yeah.
so here's the final score. It's 4.5 points. And the thing that's interesting about this, if you look at it, like, when you play an even game, when you play an even game of Go, like, typically, if you lose, I can't remember what it was. It's
We
more.
talking about our last game?
No, the last game I try to pretend like that didn't happen.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So this one, if you look at it, like the really big successes that you had was over making life in the top right, and then also killing the group on the right, both of which were really solid. When you look at this, the amount of territory that you got in the middle, it ended up being, let's see if we can count this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So about 22 points in the middle, which is roughly equivalent to how many I got in this bottom corner.
Yeah.
And it's just something to kind of think about, like, as you continue to play. Like, the majority of my territory here is in these two corners, along with the top side. And if you look at it, like, because of your Joseki, like, there's no black territory on the top. Just there's
Yeah.
zero, except for like maybe
Which
these
is
two.
really weird.
These two, I guess you could count these 2 points on the top right.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's just kind of an example of how Joseki is really important. The rest of it, like, your technical reading, like, for local stuff is really good. Your patience is really good. But yeah, Joseki and Endgame are both, like, two areas where, like, if you worked on those specifically, like, you could go up pretty easily.
Yeah. I agree. Those are definitely things I need to work on.
It was a really good game, though. I had a lot of fun
Yep.
playing it. It just took frickin' forever.
Yeah, that's what happens.
I mean,
Um,
but you lost the game on this move.
I feel like I lost the game more towards some of the endgame moves. That one punished me a lot, but it was still something winnable.
Yeah, probably closer to, let's see.
When I gave up that corner down at the bottom was probably one of my biggest things.
Yeah. And there were probably other ways to play this, like, when did that white stone get there? Oh, okay, here it is. Yeah, so, like, here, like, if you had pressured this immediately, right?
Yeah.
Like, you might have been able to put on some sort of offensive, you know? But you Tanuki'd again to get, like, you know, the things. Yeah, and then you Tanuki'd again. So I don't know. There's just different things that you could work on. You could have also, like, instead of like trying to like, all this is quite good, but then, like, once you get here, you could just keep it low.
Yeah.
You know, play this one stone, and now it's like, oh, okay, white got like 6 points. Meanwhile, I'm trying to see about what to play next. You know, and then meanwhile, I'm gonna go ahead and take this, you know, big area up here with all this stuff in it. So it's also kind of too just about like when and where to sacrifice and stuff.
Yep. There's a lot of lessons in that one. A lot of stuff I needed to learn. And I need to continue looking at Joseki apparently. Because I was like, hey, I learned some stuff, and then I still screw up on like the 6th move.
Yeah. Joseki and Endgame are both pretty easy to study.
Yep.
Yeah, I think... I don't know. I have books somewhere.
Yep, I actually just got a bunch of books too. I've got like 6 of them that I need to read. So, I'm not short on material, and 3 of them are related to the opening and endgame, so...
Man. Yeah.
But, when Worlds comes around, I'm going to try to bring a Go board, and I'm going to try to bring a chess board. And then you can beat me at both.
Hey!
I'm trying to be a whole lot more careful with the game we just started that's kind of progressed a little. But... Because I screwed up so badly at the starting moves of this game.
Yeah, I mean... I'm trying to think of, I don't know. I'm feeling a little lazy to do, like, full-on teaching about more stuff. But yeah, no, so far our other game is looking pretty good.
Yep.
Although you did do another 5-space extension earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
There's always something to talk about in our games, which is great.
Oh, yeah. There's always stuff. I don't know. I'm incredibly rusty. Like, I went and I downloaded the old Go program that I used to have. But, when I quit Go... When I quit playing Go in person, I was like, I'll just keep up with it on my little Go Droid app. And then, it wasn't long before, like, I just got super used to playing the computer. And, like, I used to be able to play it on level 7 and win. Now I can't I can't even play on level 2. It's like, no, why are you kicking my ass so hard?
But see, the thing that's easy about playing against computers is they probably don't know how to value life and death, unless it's like that one fancy one that Google has.
Well,
so you can try to trick them in those.
Most like droid, basic computer programs play like between 3 Dan and 7 Dan level. For someone who's as bad as I am, like, I can't tell the difference. I just get wrecked. Because they are really good at exploiting mistakes.
Yep.
Like, it plays... And they all play, like, pretty similarly, so... Yeah, that's a good point, Gosagan. They do life and death really well.
Oh, they do? Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, like, any kind of local position they're quite good at. So yeah, I just lose to it now.
Yeah. And then I'm just sitting here being aggressive 24/7.
Nah.
Because that's my style. But at some point I'll figure out how to make it work with me in Go. I can do it in chess, but I can't do it in Go yet.
Hey, look, this looks familiar.
Oh, you just moved, didn't you? Yeah, it does look familiar. Now I have to go play.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, if you want, we could... What time is it? What are we doing for the rest of it? It's 10 o'clock already. Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
Very long review. Well, I hope that was useful.
It was very useful. I have a lot of notes and stuff that I learned, so...
Excellent.
Yep.
All right.
I'm gonna take my time with this move so I don't screw it up like last time.
It is like, well, it's not the identical board position because you got
But
another
it's
stone to help you
close.
out, but it is pretty close.
Yep.
I am very tempted to go Sagan, but I also do want to. I do also really want to play Stellaris.
It's such a good game.
I know. So I think I'm gonna do that. But hey, Go Sagan, are you on online dash go? Because I'll totally like start up a game with you. I just kind of want to go play Stellaris badly because it's amaze balls.
Yep.
So good. Chugum, I feel like that's the third or fourth time that you've
Yeah.
said this to me. Yeah, Stellaris is really good, man. I'm about to switch over to that. So yeah, let me take a really quick break, just a couple of minutes, and then I think I'm gonna get started on that.
Yep. I'll go ahead and kill the Skype.
We'll see if
So-
Techie decides to move
I will move.
live
I'm
on Twitch.
Thinking.
He's
I'm gonna
thinking.
take slow moves. Yeah. Hey, I don't want to make mistakes like I always do.
All right, Go Sagan's gonna track me down on online Go. I'm gonna take a short break. Techie, thanks again, man.
No problem. That was fun.
Sweet.
Oh.
I looking forward to our next game.
Yep. Whenever I make that move eventually.
All right. See you
See
later,
ya.
man. All right, I'm gonna take a quick break. I'll be right back, and we'll be switching over to Stellaris. Oh, sweet. Looks like I got my game invite, possibly? What? I haven't played Stefan in a long time. Hey, look, he did the other move. Haha. Wait. Go Sagan, you aren't Stefan Kulis, are you? Because that would make a lot of sense. Also means I'll get wrecked. Alright, let's see here. Let's go ahead and get Stellaris opened up. Let's turn off our Spotify music. Oh man. Dude, why didn't you say anything, man? Techie, you should totally play Go Sagan. He's one of my he's my former pupil who will destroy us all now. Because he surpassed me. I know, man. See, Dude, I'm doing the same thing with Techie that I did with you. It was like somebody asked me to teach them, and now I'm playing again, and I'll stop until somebody else asks me to play them again. You know how it is. All right, let's see. Let's change this over. We're playing Stellaris. Iron Man. Iron Man stream save. Okay. Yeah, bro.